divine revelation. Why you're being miraculously drawn away on August 10th after the full moon. In the quaint village of Evermere, nestled among rolling hills, a divine revelation began to whisper through the hearts of its faithful. Rumors rippled like the wind through the ancient chapels, urging every villager to heed the signs that something miraculous was about to unfold on August 10th, bathed in the silvery glow of the full moon. Eleanor, a devoted mother of 3, felt that call deep within her soul. Each night, she was consumed by dreams filled with light, warmth, and an inexplicable joy that felt oh so divine. As the full moon approached, Eleanor encountered extraordinary occurrences seemingly designed to draw her toward the old sanctuary. During a mundane lunch break, a nearby tree burst into a bloom of radiant blossoms, each petal shimmering like sunlight through clouds. It felt as though heaven itself was nodding in agreement, beckoning her with an urgency that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Oh, how it stirred something so deep in her that she could scarcely ignore it. But in her home, the currents of faith collided like stormy seas against sturdy cliffs. Thomas, her husband, faced the catalyst of her stirring faith with skepticism and concern. "It's just a story, Eleanor," he'd say, a touch of dismay in his voice, as he poured himself another cup of tea. This isn't how miracles work. Yet, Eleanor felt herself being pulled towards something far greater, something that gave her strength in her struggle. One evening, she fell to her knees in prayer, trembling not just with faith, but with fear. Could she trust what she could not see? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. So it was that on the eve of August 10th, Eleanor stood amid the huddled congregation at the old sanctuary, where walls whispered testimonies of bygone miracles. Flickering candles illuminated faces aglow with hope. Nervous murmurs straying between skepticism and belief floated in the air. And then, it began. A collective shiver raced through the crowd as the first miracle unfolded. A little girl, confined to a wheelchair, stood for the first time, her joy cascading like a waterfall as tears fell freely. Eleanor gasped, her heart racing. Was this truly divine? Was the air charged with something holy? The miracles cascaded like a symphony. A man's haunting sorrow melted away as he raised his hands, liberated from his lifelong despair. And all the while, Eleanor's heart surged with a mix of wonder and confusion. This was what she longed for. Yet each miracle felt like a bridge, inviting Thomas to cross, even as the chasm between them seemed to deepen. What was happening was enchanting yet overwhelming. As the echoes of healing surrounded her, and the congregation sang a crescendo of praise, a chilling realization gripped her. What lay ahead might be just as challenging as what had come to pass. Would this divine calling lead her to the resolution she so fervently prayed for? Or would it beckon new trials as fierce as the moonlight flooding the sanctuary? With dread tinged with hope echoing inside her soul, Eleanor stood on the precipice of the extraordinary, knowing the real test was only beginning. What awaited her when a moon descended? As the full moon rose high above Evermere, casting an ethereal glow through the sanctuary's stained glass, a profound silence enveloped the crowd. The miracles had begun, each one igniting the hearts of those present with faith and astonishment. Eleanor stood transfixed, her own prayer echoing through her mind. "Lord, give me strength to believe," she whispered, barely audible above the murmurs around her. The air felt thick with expectancy. It was as if the very essence of hope swirled and danced, waiting to be claimed by anyone willing to embrace it. Suddenly, a wave washed over her as she turned to see a woman, frail and worn, stepping forward. She looked so small beneath the mounting weight of her burdens. Eleanor felt an urge, a gentle tug of the heart, pushing her to reach out. Could she? What if she was wrong? What if the quiet laments of doubt drowned out her faith? But with each miracle that unfolded, no longer could she deny the divine presence radiating in that sacred space. "Pray for her," cried an elderly man nearby, his hands trembling with emotion. In that moment, Eleanor felt the call of their shared humanity, as if the very walls of the sanctuary were saying, "This is your moment." Without hesitation, she stepped forward, her heart racing, her palms warm as she offered them up to the woman. "What is your name?" Eleanor asked softly, gazing into her eyes, which shimmered with unshed tears. "Margaret," the woman replied, her voice trembling as though it were a fragile thread. "I have lost so much, and I don't know if I could believe again." Eleanor's heart tightened at those words. How often had she felt similarly? How many days had she also wrestled with doubt threaded through her faith? "Let us believe together," she responded, clasping Margaret's hands, feeling the raw tremors beneath her fingertips. As they prayed, a gentle warmth enveloped them both. The flickering candlelight seemed to shine brighter, illuminating the sanctuary like a beacon of hope. Eleanor poured her heart into her prayer, urging the heaviness in Margaret's heart to lift, asking for a divine touch that could restore her faith. With each word spoken, with each fervent plea, something shifted in the air. Eleanor could almost hear the whisper of heaven, urging her forward, telling her that her way would not be in vain. There was power in their unity. Around them, others joined in, voices intertwining, forming a harmonious web of faith that glowed under the moonlight. And then it happened. In a moment so swift yet powerful, Margaret gasped, her eyes widening as color sprang back into her cheeks. "I feel it," she exclaimed, her voice ringing out like a bell. "I feel the light." Joy erupted among the congregation, a wave of jubilation washing over them. But through the joy, Eleanor sensed a soul-deep stirring within her. Was this the moment she had been waiting for? Yet, somewhere in the depths of her heart, a shadow of uncertainty lingered. As the crowd erupted in shouts of praise and celebration, Eleanor realized that the journey ahead would demand more than just faith. It would require trust that transcended any earthly understanding. She'd have to embrace the unknown that lay beyond her comprehension. With the moon still shining brightly above, Eleanor knew that their lives were intertwined in this moment of divine revelation. A new chapter awaited them, one filled with trials, and perhaps even deeper miracles. As the crowd sang praises and the air shimmered with possibilities, Eleanor felt an awakening in her spirit. What more could God have in store for them? And in the quiet of her heart, she wondered, were they truly ready for the next step on this miraculous journey? The sanctuary buzzed with heartfelt chatter, a web of whispers swirling through the air as the joy of healing began to settle into the very bones of the congregation. Faces glowed under the gentle moonlight, each person seemingly touched by the unfurling miracles. Eleanor still held Margaret's hands, clasped in faith, as warmth radiated between them. Margaret, eyes twinkling with newfound life, squeezed Eleanor's hands, a silent communion of shared hope. "You believe for me," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks, blending the joy and pain of her past. "Your faith, it pulled me back from the shadows." Eleanor's heart soared at the words. She felt as if she had not only witnessed a miracle, but had also participated in it. There was a deep echo of truth in Margaret's declaration. Faith was communal, and in the depths of despair, it could lift others up to discover light. But as praises were sung in triumphant chords, Eleanor felt a shift. A presence, gentle yet insistent, nudged her from within. It tugged at her like a child pulling on a mother's cloak, urging her to look beyond the immediate joy of the moment. Was it God's voice she felt guiding her? "Let us go outside," Eleanor suggested, her eyes searching for clarity. Margaret nodded, and together they stepped into the cool night air, the moonlight bathing them in serenity. The gentle rustle of leaves whispered secrets, as if nature itself rejoiced in the miracles that had unfurled within the sanctuary walls. Once outside, the atmosphere changed. The overwhelming joy transformed into a deeper contemplation of what lay ahead. Stars twinkled brightly above, as if they were listening to their silent prayers. "What do you feel?" Eleanor asked, a question born from the depths of her heart. Margaret paused, her brow furrowed in thought as she gazed up. "I don't know. It's beautiful, yes," but she hesitated, a shadow crossing her features. "It feels like there's more waiting for us. Almost like a gentle push leading us forward." "Exactly," Eleanor exclaimed, realization dawning. "It's as if God is preparing us for something even greater. But are we ready to embrace it?" The question floated between them, heavy and profound. The weight of it was palpable. Both women were at a crossroads. Would they follow this divine thread, or cling to the comfort of the familiar? "I need to ask," Margaret said, breaking the stillness. "What if we step into the unknown and it leads to pain? What if we're not strong enough?" Eleanor considered this deeply. The truth was, stepping beyond the comfort zone often felt scary. Faith doesn't mean we face challenges, but it assures us we're not alone. God promises to walk with us. Maybe the darkness we fear is just a pathway to greater light? As these words settled, they felt a shift in the air. A rustling wind wrapped around them, stirring the leaves into a dance. Eleanor was filled with a surge of anticipation. Could this uncertainty they faced also be the birthplace of another miracle, a new beginning that required them to let go of fear? Margaret's eyes searched Eleanor's, a flicker of determination igniting within them. "Let us embrace what's ahead, shall we?" "Yes, together," Eleanor whispered, feeling the warmth of their bond as their faith became a united banner. And just as they were about to turn back to the sanctuary, a vibrant light flickered to life within the woods at the edge of the grounds. It pulsed with divine energy, bright and beckoning. "What was this calling?" "Do you see that?" Margaret gasped, her voice tremulous with awe. "What do you think it is?" Eleanor felt her heart race. A thrill ran through her as she realized they were being beckoned towards something wondrous. "We must find out. Let us go." And with that, they ventured into the unknown, leaving behind the safety of their prayers, stepping boldly into the mystery that awaited them in the embrace of the ancient woods. What revelation lay in wait, hidden among the trees? Would it bring them closer to the divine purpose they were called to fulfill, or would it challenge the very foundations of their faith? As Eleanor and Margaret stepped cautiously into the woods, the vibrant light seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, steady and inviting. Shadows danced around them, the trees looming like ancient sentinels, whispering secrets only the wind could carry. The air grew thick with anticipation, as if the woods themselves held their breath. "What if it's dangerous?" Margaret whispered, uncertainty tinging her words. Yet even as she spoke, her feet moved forward, drawn by an unseen force. "Or what if it's exactly what we need?" Eleanor countered, her heart racing with excitement. The thrill of exploration mixed with a quiet conviction that God had brought them to this moment for a reason. The light flickered again, brighter now, guiding them deeper. They walked side by side, rooted in their shared faith, bolstered by the hope of witnessing something extraordinary. Each step was filled with wonder, yet a flicker of doubt nudged at the edges of their minds. "Do you think we're supposed to find something?" Margaret pondered aloud, glancing around as the moonlight trickled through the canopy above. "Like an answer? Or maybe another miracle?" "I believe we're meant to experience something profound," Eleanor replied, her voice steady with conviction. "God uses moments like these to teach us, to strengthen us. He would pull us this far without revealing his purpose." As they ventured further, the glowing light seemed to grow closer, illuminating their path with a warm, golden hue. Soft whispers floated through the trees, delightful and melodic, making them feel as if the very essence of nature was encouraging their journey. A sense of peace washed over Eleanor, but beneath that peace lay an undercurrent of urgency. Suddenly, they stepped into a small clearing. The light transformed into a swirling aura, hovering above a weathered stone altar that looked as if it had held sacred gatherings for centuries. Eleanor gasped, her breath caught in her throat. The atmosphere crackled with energy, and her heart knew, even before logic caught up, that they were in the presence of something holy. "Look at how it dances," Margaret exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. They were enraptured by the display, like moths drawn to a flame. Yet, alongside their awe, a deeper fear crept in. "What if this is a test?" Margaret whispered, a tremor in her voice. "What if we draw closer and it's not what we expect?" Eleanor thought back to all the moments of faith she had witnessed. But faith is about trust. Isn't it? Taking steps even when we don't know where we're headed. This light, this feeling, it's calling us. The moment hung suspended, thick with expectation. The light swirled faster, and with it, Eleanor felt a pull deep in her spirit. It declared, loud and clear, that stepping closer might illuminate not just their path, but also the hidden corners of their hearts. "What do we do?" Margaret asked, glancing around as if seeking guidance from the woods themselves. Eleanor placed a hand on Margaret's shoulder, grounding herself in the present. "We move forward, together, trusting in his leading." With courage buoyed by companionship, they stepped forward. Their hearts raced in sync with the pulsing light, echoing the divine rhythm they now sought to embrace fully. The altar shimmered before them, thick with the promise of revelation. And as they approached, the light began to shift, reshaping itself into a form, a figure that seemed to beckon them closer. A presence both familiar and awe-inspiring surrounded them. Eleanor grabbed Margaret's hand tighter, bracing for what would come next. "Could it be?" Eleanor began, a spark of realization igniting within. "Is this the messenger we've been waiting for?" The figure continued to emerge. Yet what would they speak of? Would the light offer them wisdom, guidance, or a challenge they weren't fully prepared for? The night whispered with anticipation as they continued forward, hearts pounding with faith, ready to discover what divine revelation awaited them. As the light intensified, it enveloped Eleanor and Margaret in a warm embrace, filling them with an energy that vibrated through their very beings. The figure before them took shape, illuminated by the radiance, transforming into a face that carried immense kindness. Eyes that sparkled like stars gazed upon them, holding a depth of wisdom that threatened to sweep them off their feet. "Do not be afraid," the figure spoke, its voice resonant and soothing, like a gentle stream flowing over smooth stones. "Your hearts have brought you here, drawn by the divine, seeking understanding and strength. What is it you wish to find?" Eleanor felt a lump in her throat. She had prepared herself for this moment, yet the reality of it washed over her like a sudden rain. "We seek guidance. We wish to understand God's purpose for our lives," she managed, her voice steady although trembling with awe. Margaret stood frozen, absorbing every detail: the cascading light, the warm presence, and the undeniable truth that something profound was occurring. "Will we be tested? Will we be challenged?" she asked, her tone laced with a mix of hope and fear. The figure smiled, an expression that seemed to illuminate the clearing even further. "Challenges are merely opportunities veiled in disguise. Each trial you face today prepares you for the blessings of tomorrow. Trust that you are never alone in your journey." Eleanor's heart soared, filled with a newfound certainty. "But how do we trust? We are only human." "By surrendering your worries," the figure replied. "When you release your burdens to the wind, you embrace the fullness of faith. Remember, it is not in knowing every step ahead that you find peace, but in moving forward in trust." With each word, the atmosphere vibrated with clarity, resonating within Eleanor's soul like the sweet tones of a sacred hymn. It was as if the figure spoke directly to the doubts and fears they had carried, lightening the load they had felt while seeking God's will. Eleanor inhaled deeply, absorbing this revelation. "And you, The figure continued, turning towards Margaret, whose face reflected a mixture of wonder and concern. "What dwelling place do you keep for joy in your heart?" Margaret hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty touching her spirit. "I often find myself worried. I think of what others expect of me, and I lose sight of my own joy. How can I let it flourish?" The figure's gaze softened, emanating comfort. "Joy is your birthright, bestowed upon your spirit from the moment you came into being. It is the light that remains even in shadows. Seek it in gratitude and in the small moments of beauty within your life, and it will blossom like spring after winter." Tears brimmed in Eleanor's eyes as she grasped the weight of these words. The presence was both revealing and nurturing, a reminder of love intertwined with challenge. Grace laced through every facade of struggle. The light began to swirl again, a dance separated from time. Your journey does not end here. It has only just begun. Protect what you've learned today and carry it within. As you walk in faith, you will discover unplanned miracles along your path. With that, the figure began to recede into the light, an echo of laughter trailing behind, as if inviting them to remember this moment always. Margaret and Eleanor stood in reverent silence, hearts lifted, minds racing with the implications of their encounter. The woods began to breathe again, shadows drawn back like curtains in a theater. They had been given the honor of wisdom, but now the challenge of implementation awaited them. "What do we do now?" Margaret whispered, still enveloped in the spiritual glow. Eleanor looked toward the path leading back through the woods, a smile forming on her lips. "We live this truth. We embrace it." Yet even as they turned to leave, a lingering thought nudged at the edges of their minds. What other messages awaited them? What further discoveries were hidden in shadows, yet to be traversed? They stepped forward together, ready to illuminate the next chapter of their journey, hearts alive with divine wonder. But the sense of an even greater revelation loomed just ahead. As they walked deeper into the woods, the warm glow of the encounter lingered around them. The rustling leaves whispered secrets, dancing in rhythms only the heart could understand. Eleanor turned to Margaret, her eyes sparkling with possibility. "Can you feel it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "The air is different now, like it's charged with something sacred." Margaret nodded, her heart racing. She could sense it too, a pulse of energy threading through the trees, beckoning them forward. "I wonder where this path will lead us," she mused aloud, glancing at the winding trail ahead, shrouded in soft light, as if inviting them deeper into the embrace of nature. With renewed determination, they walked side by side, their footsteps light as if they were floating above the forest floor. As they meandered, a feeling of peace enveloped them, washing away the fears that had once clung to their spirits. Eleanor kept replaying the figure's words in her mind, savoring each one. "Protect what you've learned today." Do you think that all the challenges we faced have prepared us for something greater? Margaret asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "Absolutely," Eleanor replied, her heart swelling with hope. "We've endured, we've grown. Now we're being led to uncover our true purpose." As they rounded a bend, the woods opened up to a clearing bathed in golden light. In the center stood a small, gnarled tree, its branches stretching wide, heavy with blossoms that glimmered like tiny stars. It seemed alive, pulsing with a rhythm that resonated in Eleanor and Margaret's hearts. "Look at that tree," Margaret exclaimed, captivated by its beauty. "It's extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it." Eleanor approached slowly, feeling each petal's energy hum against her fingertips. "What if this tree is a symbol, a reminder of the joy we were told to seek?" Margaret stepped closer, echoing her friend's awe. "It's flourishing right here, despite the challenges it must face. Every season, it endures storms, yet still blooms. Just like us." In that moment, they understood the truth of the figure's words more deeply. Life would throw storms at them, but like the tree, they had the strength to endure and grow. With renewed spirit, Eleanor and Margaret stood together, embracing the sense of hope that shimmered in the air. Suddenly, a gentle breeze swept through the clearing, as if carrying whispers from the divine. It tugged playfully at their hair and the edges of their clothes, inviting them to pay attention. They listened intently, as if the very wind held messages meant for their hearts. Could there be something more? Eleanor wondered, barely above a whisper, her breath hitching at the thought. A deeper calling waiting to be heard. Margaret closed her eyes, allowing the sensations to wash over her. We must remain open. The path we're on is revealing itself. Each step is stitched in the tapestry of our journey. As the sunlight danced through the leaves above, casting playful patterns on the ground, a chill raced down Eleanor's spine. What if that revelation is closer than we think? What if there's another sign waiting for us? Encouraged by this idea, they exchanged looks filled with determination. They both felt the urgency to dig deeper, to explore the significance of the tree and the echoes of the sacred presence surrounding them. Margaret took a breath, feeling invigorated. Let's not just stand here. Let us seek what lies beyond. There is more behind this moment. Isn't there? We're meant to discover it together. As they took their first steps into the unknown, both women felt the weight of potential resting heavily on their shoulders. The air thickened with anticipation, and they couldn't shake the feeling that soon the divine would unveil yet another chapter in their unfolding story. The forest, vibrant and alive, awaited their exploration. The gift of tomorrow loomed just beyond the horizon. What revelation would unfold before them next? Would they uncover the truths they had yet to imagine? The air felt charged as Eleanor and Margaret ventured deeper into the woods, hearts thudding with anticipation. Each step felt like a prayer, a yearning to connect with something beyond the visible world. The trees towered around them, guardians of ancient secrets, their branches whispering melodies of faith. We're walking towards something significant, Eleanor said, her pulse quickening, echoing the rhythm of nature's heartbeat surrounding them. Yes, it feels alive here. Margaret marveled, her senses heightened. Like every leaf holds a story waiting to be told. As they walked, the luminous clearing began to reveal more than just the tree. Beneath it, the ground was carpeted with delicate flowers, vibrant with colors that seemed too bright to exist in such a serene setting. The blossoms swayed gently, bowing as if offering their sanctuary. Do you think these flowers are here for us? Margaret mused, kneeling to touch one that sparkled in the sunlight. As her fingers brushed against its petals, a warm rush washed over her, filling her with an inexplicable peace. Maybe they are, Eleanor replied, gazing at her friend with a knowing smile. It's as if they are welcoming us to understand what's unfolding in our lives. Just then, a melodious sound danced through the air, as if the forest itself were composing a symphony uniquely for them. The two friends exchanged glances, awed by the music that seemed to rise from the earth and above, a harmony of nature celebrating their journey. What do you think that sound is? Eleanor asked, tilting her head, tuning her ear to the ethereal notes. Margaret smiled, her eyes shining with joy. It feels like harmony, like everything in this moment is so perfectly aligned. With a shared glance of understanding, they both knew they had entered a sacred space. They felt drawn to the heart of the grove, where the tree stood majestically, its gnarled branches weaving intricate patterns against the sky. Each twist of its trunk seemed to tell a story of survival, strength, and renewal. Let us sit under it, Margaret proposed, her spirit yearning for stillness. They settled at the base, feeling the cool earth beneath them, the tree sheltering them like a mother's arms. Isn't it interesting, Eleanor whispered, eyes closing in reflection, how something so resilient can grow in the face of adversity. It's a reminder that we are not alone. Our struggles help shape us, just like those storms shaped this tree. A profound silence enveloped them, one that prompted deep thoughts and heartfelt prayers. They shared words of gratitude for the past and hopes for their future. It was here, surrounded by nature's artistry, that they sensed something extraordinary lingering just beyond their grasp. Then, as if guided by the invisible hand of the divine, Margaret opened her eyes and gasped softly, "Eleanor, look!" In the distance, a shimmering light flickered. It was faint at first, almost like a candle's flame dancing in the twilight. "Do you see that?" she breathed, excitement swelling within her. "Yes," Eleanor replied, her heart now racing in rhythm with the new discovery. "It's calling us, ISNT it, like a beacon." With renewed purpose, they grasped hands, the warmth of each other's strength fueling their courage. The flicker beckoned them to explore further, a divine promise stirring in the air. The allure of revelation awaited them. "What if that light holds the answers we've been seeking?" Margaret said, her voice a mixture of wonder and trepidation. "Whatever awaits us, we must not fear," Eleanor encouraged, determination igniting her spirit. "The divine has guided us this far, let us trust that." Together, they rose, bolstered by the energy that hummed through the canopy as they moved toward the light. But with every step, uncertainty shrouded the path ahead. What awaited them in that shimmering glow? Would they uncover the truth that had been buried in their hearts, waiting for the perfect moment to awaken? As they approached, the air thickened with anticipation, the forest holding its breath in divine expectation. The flickering light grew brighter as Eleanor and Margaret maneuvered through the underbrush, its golden hue spilling over them like warm honey. Each step felt sanctified, the energy around them pulsing with possibility. It was a symphony of divine whispers guiding them forward. "Can you feel it?" Margaret asked, her heart racing. "There's something sacred here, something ancient." Eleanor nodded, feeling the familiar tug of longing deep in her soul. "It's as if we're being drawn towards a glimpse of the divine," she said, thoughts swirling with wonder and clarity. This moment felt like a promise yet to be fulfilled, an invitation to think beyond the tangible. As they reached the edge of the shimmering light, it enveloped them, illuminating the grove with a brilliance that chased away the shadows. The flowers around them glimmered, now casting reflections of color that danced between vibrant shades of blue and gold. They stood before a mesmerizing sight, a pool of crystal-clear water, radiating light from its depths. "What is this place?" Eleanor breathed, captivated by the ethereal beauty. The surface of the water shimmered like glass, mirroring the sky above, reflecting clouds that seemed almost painted there by the hand of a master artist. Margaret knelt by the edge, entranced. "It's more than just water," she whispered, glancing up at Eleanor with wide eyes. "It feels alive, like it holds answers. Do you think we should touch it?" Eleanor asked, voice barely above a whisper, hesitant yet full of longing. With her curiosity overwhelming her, Margaret dipped her fingers into the sparkling surface. As her skin made contact, ripples danced outward, and a rush of energy surged through her. She gasped, surprised by the sensation of warmth that spread throughout her body, igniting her spirit. "Eleanor, you have to try," Margaret urged, pulling her friend closer. Eleanor hesitated, but the curiosity burned brightly in her chest. She plunged her hand into the water, and immediately, warmth enveloped her just as it had Margaret. In that moment, images flooded their minds, flashes of past moments, dreams long forgotten, and visions of hope. They saw their struggles as echoes of yesterday, each wave in the water a lesson learned, a moment molded by divine hands. "I can see," Eleanor began, voice trembling. "It's all connected, every bit of it. Our journey, our fears, our faith, they've led us to this very moment." Margaret nodded, tears of joy glazing her eyes. "This place is sacred. It's a reminder of how far we've come. The unfolding of our lives is part of a greater story." Suddenly, the brightness intensified, causing them to shield their faces. Before them, in the heart of the fountain, a figure began to materialize, a shimmering silhouette cloaked in luminescence, a symbol of pure love and grace. "Fear not, my beloveds," the figure spoke, voice like the melodious wind rustling through leaf and branch. You are not alone. This light is a reflection of the hope residing within you. Your journey brings you here for a purpose. Trembling with both awe and fear, Eleanor and Margaret exchanged glances, wide-eyed. What purpose? Eleanor ventured, her voice scarcely breaking the stillness. Follow this light, and it will lead you to your truth. The answers you seek are not far beyond this moment. The figure began to fade, but not before leaving a warmth that penetrated deeply within their hearts. As the brilliance dimmed, but did not disappear, Eleanor felt a profound sense of faith solidifying around her. They were meant for more. There was a mission that awaited them, a call threaded through their lives. What comes next? Margaret asked, a slight tremor in her voice, laced with excitement. Eleanor felt the stirring within, a growing trust unfurling a path illuminated not just by light, but by purpose. Whatever happens, we must stand firm in faith. We were brought here for a reason. With renewed determination, both women turned to look back towards the golden light, now glimmering softly, inviting them to take the next step in their journey toward revelation. What awaited them beyond this sacred encounter? Could it be the divine promise they'd been seeking fulfilled at last? With a shared breath, Eleanor and Margaret stepped closer to the shimmering pool, their hearts pounding with anticipation. The golden light continued to dance around them, as if it were welcoming their next move, urging them forward into the unknown. Can you imagine what awaits us? Margaret's voice fluttered with excitement. It's like we're standing on the threshold of something profound. Eleanor felt a rush of adrenaline. There's power in belief, in stepping into the mystery. It feels like the very air hums with divine energy. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs with that vibrant, sacred atmosphere. They approached the edge of the pool, and as they did, tiny motes of light began to emerge from the water's surface, swirling gently like fireflies in a summer twilight. Eleanor knelt, mesmerized. Look at the lights, they are like tiny messengers. Margaret leaned in closer, captivated. They must have a story to tell. Perhaps they hold the secrets of this grove. With gentle fingers, they began to trace the patterns of light on the water's surface. Each motion stirred not just the water, but an unseen current beneath, an awakening of something deeper. A voice echoed in Eleanor's mind, soft yet profound. Trust your hearts, for they seek the path to the divine. Did you hear that? Eleanor gasped, her pulse quickening. It's like it's guiding us. Margaret nodded, her eyes shining with a mixture of fear and hope. Let us listen. We must be open. As they both fixed their gaze on the pool, the images returned. Not just fleeting memories now, but a vivid tapestry of visions, faces of people they had loved and lost, moments of joy, and trials faced with raw courage. Each one a thread, woven together into a larger story of purpose and faith. What if these visions are telling us something crucial? Margaret whispered, her heart racing. What if we're meant to share these stories? To heal our community? The thought resonated deeply within Eleanor. Yes, we've been gifted with understanding, a connection to something vast and beautiful. Our journeys are not just our own. They intertwine with others. Margaret smiled, her spirit lifting. Then let us not linger in doubt. Whatever awaits us, we must embrace it as part of our mission. Suddenly, the lights brightened, swirling faster, illuminating the grove around them, every leaf, every flower now aglow. It was as if nature itself was celebrating their realization. The shimmering figure emerged once more from the depths, now more defined, serene, and watchful. Beloveds, you shine brightly with potential, the figure proclaimed. To each who seeks, answers will be given. Your purpose aligns with the needs of the world around you. Eleanor and Margaret exchanged glances, understanding the weight of this calling. They were not simply observers, they were participants in something greater than themselves. What must we do? Eleanor called out, her voice steady despite the thrill coursing through her. Trust in the whispers of your hearts, the figure advised. its face radiant with wisdom. What begins as the soft tug of your spirit will unfold into miracles of love and service. The world awaits your light. And just like that, the figure faded, leaving the two women cloaked in an overwhelming sense of purpose and courage. What if we are not only led, but also the leaders? Margaret pondered, her eyes reflecting the glowing pool. What if our next steps could change lives? Eleanor felt the weight of her friend's words tumbling through her heart. They had stepped into a moment of divine clarity, but the journey forward held unknown challenges and blessings. Let us carry this message together, Eleanor affirmed. Our steps are just beginning, guided by faith. With a resolute nod, they turned toward the glow that beckoned them forth, feeling more alive than ever. They were meant to be vessels of love, and they would carry that light into the world. What new challenges would they face ahead? What transformations awaited them as they prepared to share their message? With a heart full of purpose, Eleanor and Margaret stepped away from the shimmering pool, its radiant reflections casting a glow upon their faces. Each heartbeat echoed the extraordinary journey they had embraced, a tapestry woven from threads of faith, hope, and divine connection. As they walked hand in hand, the grove began to whisper secrets only the courageous could hear. "Do you feel that?" Eleanor exclaimed, pausing to gaze around. The air shimmered with possibilities, the sunlight filtering through the leaves above them, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced before their eyes. "It's as if nature is celebrating our awakening," Margaret replied, glancing up at the branches. Joy radiated from her as she felt the energy of the moment envelop them. "We were chosen for something greater, and now it's time to share what we've learned." With renewed conviction, they made their way back toward the village of Evermere, their hearts tethered to each other and to the divine purpose that awaited them. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows behind them that seemed to stretch toward the horizon, as if rolling out a path illuminated by their newfound faith. Upon reaching the sanctuary, they were greeted by familiar faces. The villagers gathered and buzzing with curiosity about the miraculous events that had washed over their community. Eleanor and Margaret stood at the entrance, their eyes sparkling with anticipation. In that moment, they knew they were not just witnesses to miracles, they were vessels, ready to let the Holy Spirit flow through them. "Eleanor!" Margaret, an elderly woman, called, her voice rising above the murmurs. "What happened out there? We felt your joy." Eleanor stepped forward, her heart thrumming with excitement. "We discovered a divine purpose, one that binds all of us together. Each trial we've faced has prepared us for what has to come. We're meant to share our stories, to bring healing to our community." A collective hush fell over the crowd as Eleanor's words sank into their hearts. Faces turned toward her with expressions of awe and eagerness. Margaret joined her. "There's power in our unity. We can uplift one another, illuminating the path for those still wandering in darkness." Tears of relief and elation sparkled in the eyes of those gathered. Among the crowd, Thomas stood silently, a softening expression crossing his face as he soaked in his wife's unwavering faith. In that moment, he felt the resonance of truth deep within. "That's it," he exclaimed, suddenly stepping forward. "You've shown me the way. We must embrace this challenge together." This declaration burst forth like a phoenix rising from ashes, igniting hope in the villagers. Inspired by the transformative encounter, they clamored to share their own stories, their doubts, their struggles, and the miracles they had witnessed. One by one, hands were raised in testimony, revealing hearts once held captive by fear, now freed by love. As evening descended, the echoes of healing began to reverberate within the walls of the sanctuary, each voice intertwining like a harmonious melody. Eleanor looked at Margaret, their hearts beating as one, filled with the surge of purpose the community was awakening, and they were at the helm. Hours passed as night fell, the moon casting its gentle glow upon their gathering. The warmth of shared stories wrapped around them, the flickering candles reflecting a covenant formed by faith. Each moment intertwined, revealing the divine miracles manifested in the hearts of the believers. "This is just the beginning," Eleanor murmured to Margaret, eyes gleaming with fervor. "We're being called to spread this light further." With renewed resolve, they proposed a plan to reach out beyond the village, inspired to set forth and share their revelations with neighbors in towns far and wide. They envisioned gatherings, prayers, outreach, and awakening of faith that would ripple across communities, igniting hope where despair once lingered. And so, buoyed by their experiences of connection both with the divine and with each other, they stepped boldly into tomorrow, ready to embrace whatever trials lay ahead. They were messengers of the miraculous, charged with purpose and unwavering belief. What lay before them in the uncharted territory of faith? Would they face new challenges? Would they see more miracles unfold? The bonds of their hearts assured them they were not alone. Whatever came, they would embark together, a testament to the power of faith ignited in moments of divine revelation. This is your moment. If you've been moved by this story, you need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that connect us all. And remember, leave a like to feed the algorithm. Your support matters, and it helps bring this message to others seeking hope. Comment below your thoughts and reactions, your testimonies of faith, because we want to hear from you. Share this video right now with at least 5 friends who need this message in their lives. Don't wait even one more second. Let us spread the light together. Only true servants of God understand the power of sharing divine truths.